my full card predictions for UFC 319. First of all, if you want to hear my take on a particular fight, then timestamps are in the description. But anyway, let's get on with the fights. Starting off the prelims, we have Karine, Silva, and Dione Barbosa. I'm going to go with Dione Barbosa on this one. I know she's on shorter notice. This was supposed to be Karine Silva and JJ Aldridge, but Dione Barbosa, she filled in, and I think she's going to win the fight. She's quite a bit bigger, I'm pretty sure, and I'd say she's in better shape, probably stronger. Had a round 1 submission over Diana Belbita in her last fight, so I just think the physical strength and grappling is going to be too much for Karine Silva, who did get out-grappled at times versus Viviane Araújo, so I got Dione Barbosa probably by decision with mostly top control. Bryan battle and Nursulton Ruziboev. We see Bryan battle is moving up to middleweight in this one. He had some trouble making weight at welterweight. He missed weight by 3 pounds versus Randy Brown, which is a fight I don't think he won, but I guess rounds 2 and 3 they gave to battle. I'm not sure how he did. I'd give him round 2, but rounds 1 and 3, definitely not. He just got out-damaged, and, he clinched, but he was out-damaged, so if he's going to clinch with Nursulton Ruziboev, who's a little bit bigger than him and taller, and the taller guys are giving Bryan battle problems, and I feel like Nursulton Ruziboev will probably get this one. Maybe if Bryan battle just moving up, he's maybe in that awkward stage, so maybe it needs somebody else than Nursulton Ruziboev in his middleweight debut. And some of his main tools he can't really use. I'm sure his straight shots won't be as effective. He does have a reach advantage though, 77 to 76. He's a lot shorter. He's 6'1", Ruziboev 6'5", so I've got Ruziboev probably winning this one by, I'd say, a close decision, and I just feel like maybe he could wear him down in the clinch, just being taller, getting his weight on him. Now let's move on to Edson Barboza and Drakkar Klose. I'm definitely going with Edson Barboza in this one because, experience, first of all, and Drakkar Klose, his last one was in December versus Joel Alvarez. He got a takedown at the start, but then when he stood Joel back up, which I think was a big mistake, he pretty much immediately got finished. But, Joel Alvarez, he's no joke. He's a real deal, but Edson Barboza, I feel like he's still fast. He's moving up to lightweight. I see that's good for him. Maybe he knows he's perform better at 155. Again, we haven't seen him in a long time. Last one was Lerone Murphy, I'm pretty sure. Lost that one by, it was a decision. I don't remember the scorecard, but before that he beat Sadiq Youssef. That was a comeback, so I think he still got it. I'm gonna say he gets this one by decision or TKO. Leg kicks will work good for him. I don't know about wheel kicks, but I know he's got that knee up the middle, so that with leg kicks, I feel like that will prove useful for him. Chase Hooper, Alexander Hernandez. I'm going with Chase Hooper on this one. Just a grappling edge. Hernandez can get takedowns like against Kurt Holoba, but he didn't finish the fight there, and after that fight, Kurt Holoba was submitted in about a minute by Jordan Levitt, so maybe not the best look. And Hernandez is a submission guy. Armbar versus Clay Guida. Almost got that, I don't know what the submission is called, versus Jim Miller. He almost got the one where it separates the legs and you're forced to tap because of that much discomfort, but I gotta say Chase Hooper gets this fight to the ground. Maybe he can be tricky on the feet. 6'1", 5'9", he's got more range. 74 to 72 inches of reach. I could see him maybe working straight punches and bring Hernandez into a little bit of a stand-up fight where he thinks it's going to be on the feet, but Then he's going to shoot for a takedown, and I see him getting it to the ground. I could say arm triangle or rear naked. I'm picking Chase Hooper by submission. I'll say round 2. Jessica Andrade, Loopy, Godinez. This is Andrade at strawweight, where I'm pretty sure she is better at flyweight, but was that at flyweight where she got submitted versus Jasmine Jasdovicius? Or was that strawweight? I think it was at flyweight, but she's moving down to strawweight. And I gotta go with Loopy Godinez here. I mean, Andrade hasn't looked that great recently. I don't remember her last win. I think it was Mackenzie Dern or something like that. No, it wasn't Mackenzie Dern, it was Marina Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure, at UFC 300. And then she lost to Natalia Silva, which, I mean, that's okay. Natalia Silva could be a champion soon, but just very easily submitted by Jasdovicius. I don't really like it too much, so I feel like Loopy Godinez is going to win this fight by decision. Maybe a takedown or 2 in there. Gerald, Meerschaert, Michal, Oleksiejczuk. Tough one to pick, your Meerschaert, he builds into fights. He can get dropped, but he's not done yet. I mean, maybe against Chimaev, that was the one time, but he can get dropped, but he'll still go. It's hard to put him away, and against a guy like Michal, who has lost a fair bit of his fights by submission, then, I mean, this is screaming a Gerald Meerschaert comeback KO. Or not comeback KO, comeback sub. I could really see that, and honestly, I'm not going to go with it because he has lost 2 of his fights. He has lost 2 fights in a row versus Brad Tavares and Reiner de Ritter. No shame in that, but Tavares was kind of like that stylistic matchup for him. Good takedown defense, good on the feet. So, I mean, it screams Gerald Meerschaert coming back to a submission, but I just think Michal's too powerful. KO'd Dricus Dumas with a bicep. Didn't KO him, but dropped him, and it was not an early stoppage like Dumas was protesting, but I'm going to go with Oleksiejczuk to win this fight, dropping Meerschaert early. But watch a ground and pound, maybe he gets caught in a submission. Bobby Green and Diego Ferreira. I picked Diego Ferreira to beat Grant Dawson, so I think highly of him, but he was out-grappled a lot in that fight. Is Bobby Green going to out-grapple him? No, he won't. And on the feet, Bobby Green he's either going to be too fast for his opponents and put it on them, or he's just going to get chinned. And last time it was against Mauricio Huffy, he got wheel kicked, just put out cold immediately. I mean, not the worst look. Huffy's really good, but before that it was a loss to Pimlet, so I think Diego Ferreira is going to catch him in round 1. I could see an overhand right just crumpling Bobby Green. I like Bobby Green, but I got Ferreira in this one. Tim Elliott, Kai Asakura. We're on the main card now, by the way. I gotta go with Kai Asakura to win this one. Tim Elliott hasn't been here in a long time. Last one was Muhammad Makayev, if I'm not mistaken. I need to check that real quick. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Kai Asakura to win this fight. Tim Elliott, I'm sure he's coming off some injuries, and maybe not the best thing after a long layoff. And Kai Asakura recently fought for the title against Pantoja. It didn't end well for him. Lost round 1, got out-grappled. Kind of got dropped, but landed a flying knee. But round 2, he just got taken down, submitted with a rear naked. I mean, no shame in losing to Pantoja, but I don't know if he's at the top of the division. So Tim Elliott won against Sumadarji, technical submission, arm triangle. Alright, that's good, but it was December 9th, 2023. And Kai Asakura was here in December, so I gotta go with Kai Asakura to win this fight. Maybe Tim Elliott goes for a grappling. He's going to go for a grappling, but I could really see a flying knee from Kai Asakura catching him. That's my official prediction. I think Kai Asakura is going to get a flying knee KO. I'm going to say round 1, something like that. Round 2, I could just see him baiting him in and catching him with that. He's got a lot of KOs with the flying knee, Kai Asakura. And I'm sure he could keep it on the feet, and he's definitely the better striker. He's tough. He's willing to take a punch to give one back. I gotta go with Kai Asakura to win this fight. I'm gonna say KO, round 1 or 2. Jared Cannonier, MVP, Michael Venom Page. I'm going with MVP to win this fight. I was gonna pick Cannonier, but what I just saw at middleweight versus Dolidze and Hernandez, I'll talk about that later. But anyway, what I'm saying, the skill gap between middleweight and welterweight is just too vast. Welterweights are just so much technically better. And I didn't mention that versus Bryan Battle and Nursulton Ruziboev, but I don't really think it applies too much there. But at ranked level, I think it really applies. I see Michael Page, he's definitely going to be the much faster man. Much taller, 6'3" to 5'11", that's 4 inches of height. And also, the reach is, he has a long reach, 79 inches. Cannonier's also got long arms, 77.5. And I was going to go with Jared Cannonier when I first saw this fight get made. I thought he'd just overpower Page and be able to grapple him, but is he going to be able to grapple for the whole fight? I don't think so. Will he be able to submit MVP? Again, I don't think so. Cannonier can get takedowns. He's very strong. I think he definitely, if he gets in on a shot, he will take Page down. But, I mean, he was taking Gregory Rodriguez down, but he doesn't really spend too much time on top, you know. He's not, he'll get takedowns, but he's not the biggest control guy or submission guy, so I could just see MVP getting his way on the feet. Again, MVP can have slow-paced fights, but he can make it look like he's so much more ahead with his style. I can see that straight right with the dashes in. I can see that catching Jared Cannonier. I don't think he's going to put him out, but maybe he's going to stumble him a few times. Again, watch out for the flying knees. Kicks, he does sometimes trip over himself with the kicks or slip on the canvas, but yeah, I gotta go with MVP on this one. I could see decision or TKO. If it's a TKO, I'd say some point around 3. But I got MVP winning this one just based on speed. But Cannonier can have good moments, and don't be surprised if he hurts MVP. Definitely got the power on his side. Geoff, Neal, Carlos Prates. You know, I'm gonna go with Prates, but this is honestly a somewhat close fight. This is a pretty close fight. Because Neal, I mean, he gave a war to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Got submitted in the 3rd round, but he was doing very well in that fight. I think Shavkat was up 2-0 going into the 3rd, but he was giving him a war. He was cracking Shavkat Rakhmonov. Geoff Neal's got big power. Like, he has really good power. Prates can take a punch. We don't really see him hurt. Unless Ian Gary just lands a fury of punches, a flurry, and got a good uppercut. I'm going to go with Prates to win this fight. Just with Neal, we'll either get a Marauder style, or it'll come out where he's going to come out guns blazing like he did against Rafael dos Anjos, and pretty much just bulldozed him, dropped RDA, and he tore something, ACL, MCL, but other versions of Geoff Neal, he just clinches up like he did against Gary. He can kind of let fights get away from him at times. So, I mean, it kind of depends with what Neal we're going to get, but Prates, he's very strong going forward, left kicks. I mean, Neal's a southpaw as well, so he's going to get those right kicks to the body. I can see those working for Carlos Prates. Straight left is money. just going backwards, Prates isn't really the same, but I'm sure he could get his respect from Neal. I could see a good elbow, maybe in the clinch, good left hand. He's got a nice jab too, but if that left connects, then he could probably win the fight by TKO. So I might have to go with Carlos Prates on this one by finish. I could just see that stinging left hand some point in the fight. I think it'll come out unexpectedly. Neal won't see it coming, but Carlos Prates just has an ability with that left hand to hurt somebody really bad. Even Ian Gary in round 4. So, I mean, with that fight, he didn't really throw much. He was kind of overconfident in the Gary fight, and he did have him very hurt badly at the end of the 5th round, and Gary was just so tired. He could have finished that fight, but he didn't. But anyway, what I was saying, Carlos Prates, that left just comes out of nowhere, and it hits people hard. And I know Neal's got a good chin, but if that lands, then anybody's in trouble. So I could go with Carlos Prates, maybe picking up momentum in the 3rd, almost getting a finish, or if the left hand hits home, then I could see him winning the fight by TKO. But I'm going with Carlos Prates to win this fight. If a TKO happens, I think round 3. Or some part round 2, maybe. Lerone Murphy, Aaron Pico. I've done some research on Aaron Pico. He does throw some good combinations. He'll mix in a punch to the liver, a left hook to the liver. But if you look at the opponents he's been facing, I forget the guy's name. He's about 38 right now, who previously knocked him out, but he got that revenge fight. It was just, it was a revenge fight, but a much older opponent. It was Henry Corrales, I think. He got a TKO, and he also beat Pedro Carvalho, but again, the records aren't great. I think one of them is 13-10. I really need to check their records. But again, visually, Aaron Pico looks good, but we've just been finding out that the Bellator guys don't really hold a candle to the UFC fighters, especially in the rank pool at welterweight, which is it's not welterweight, it's featherweight. But as I was going to say, featherweight is a very spicy division. It's not the spiciest, but featherweights are good, man, especially at welterweight. I know Lerone Murphy can sometimes get caught, against Danny Gay. He can get hurt, but he stayed in that fight, and he edged that out, grappling. Very close, but he got dropped in the first. That was in the 1st round. He came back rounds 2 and 3. Got a good bit of grappling, if I'm not mistaken. Again, Pedro Carvalho, 13-7. I'm just looking at Aaron Pico's opponents, and they're not really the best. So I know it's easier for him to look good against the Bellator guys who aren't that same level as Lerone Murphy. So again, I could see a flying knee working for Lerone Murphy. That one against Makwan Amirkhani. If Pico makes a bad level change or just comes in and tries to bulldoze Murphy, don't be surprised if maybe Pico hurts Murphy. I can see overhand right. Maybe he gets him with the liver shot, but straight punches is what Murphy's going to use in that fight. He's going to keep Pico busy with the kicks. I'm sure he'll be able to defend the takedowns. I think Murphy's going to win this fight. I see 29-28. Maybe Pico has a good round 3 or a good round 1. We're finally at the big one. Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Who do I think will win? Now, let me tell you, exactly a year ago, August 12th, 2024, I picked Israel Adesanya to KO Dricus du Plessis in round 1, which is one of the dumbest predictions I've ever made. And overlooking DDP is not a good thing to do. I'm sorry, but I gotta do it again. I have to pick Khamzat Chimaev to win. Now, he's a favorite, minus 180, which is not why I'm picking him. I think he's actually the riskier pick, and DDP should be the favorite, especially with more experience out of a championship. With 5 rounds, he's been 5 rounds twice, and he made it to a 4th round with Israel Adesanya where he got the submission. 2 decision wins over Sean Strickland is impressive, especially the last one being a 50-45. And let me tell you how this first round is going to go. I see Khamzat Chimaev shooting right out the gates. That's pretty much what he does. But we saw adjustments in the Robert Whittaker fight. He didn't look tired in that fight. In the Usman fight, he looked tired. He pushed a much harder pace in that fight, but in the Whittaker fight, he made Whittaker work more than him. Sure, he had to get to the takedown, but he made Whittaker carry all of his weight, and now I'm sure DDP is a bit stronger than Whittaker, and maybe stronger than Khamzat, and he could make his way up to his feet, which could open up submissions. We'll get to that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Chimaev is content to go to the feet in this fight. I'd say he's probably outmatched in this fight against DDP, but especially in the early rounds, when somebody's fresh and trying to take you down, you're just a bit more hesitant on the feet. That's just, for the most part, it's how it works, and maybe even will apply when we get later into the fight. But I think Khamzat Chimaev, he's going to have a big round 1, maybe a finish in round 1. That's probably the way to win the fight. But Dricus du Plessis getting up, I feel like maybe he can expose a Darce choke from Khamzat Chimaev. If he puts his head in a Darce, then that's pretty much game over, but I'm sure he's been drilling submission defense, and he could definitely roll to his back. I'm sure of that, and maybe he could give up his back. That's what Whittaker did, but he kind of had to, and maybe it'd definitely be better for DDP to get his back taken than being full mount from Chimaev. But honestly, something interesting that I suggest Khamzat Chimaev should do is probably push for a TKO in round 1 when you're both fresh, and you can be on your way for a 10-8. You should go for a TKO. It's just the smarter thing to do, and I could more likely see him getting a TKO in round 1 than a submission. And later as this fight gets on, we know DDP will build into the fight. He's definitely got the gas tank. You could say DDP isn't ready for Chimaev's pace in round 1, but Chimaev, maybe he's not ready for DDP's pace in the later rounds. And as I said, Chimaev taking him down, maybe DDP will be more hesitant on the feet, but honestly, later as the fight goes on, I feel like he could honestly get his grappling versus Chimaev. He could probably be stronger. He's going to be more fresh as the fight goes on. Not more fresh, but he's definitely going to be less tired than Chimaev. But even if Chimaev, I don't feel like he'll use all his energy. If he sees the finish, he's going to see the finish. But I don't feel like he'll gas himself out in round 1. That's just kind of stupid. But don't be surprised if he makes it to the later rounds, Chimaev. If it makes it to the later rounds, I think DDP will win. But maybe this even goes to a decision. I doubt it. I see a decision either way, or a finish either way, but if it goes to a close decision, you know who we're giving it to. Let me just say that. But round 1, Chimaev is gonna take him down. That's kind of a guarantee in this fight, or a no-brainer. I'm not counting DDP out, but that's just who Chimaev is. But also, yeah, Dricus du Plessis has a very good high kick, and I could honestly see that in this fight. Chimaev, he can counter opponents, but what we haven't seen is the best head movement. He doesn't move his head a whole lot, and I feel like that could really set up a high kick for DDP in this fight. Yeah, I'd definitely look for leg kicks. Chimaev is pretty vulnerable to them. He switches stances a lot, and I feel like he can also get caught by shots, mainly overhands and hooks. When he's switching stances, he kind of does it blatantly in front of opponents, but I'm sure he'll be looking to improve this fight, and probably he shouldn't be looking to box with DDP. He'll probably be looking to keep this fight in kicking and kickboxing range. Chimaev will. I could see kicks working for him, but I'd definitely say get more grappling off if you can, but also maybe try and get DDP to run into an elbow or something like that. But Chimaev will get more tired as the fight goes on. That's definitely a no-brainer, and DDP will take over, especially in the striking. I mean, his style, I could see it working with Chimaev. Against Strickland, he didn't look like... DDP can look goofy, but he's not sloppy. He's actually a good striker and will enforce it. Like, some strikers might look pretty, but they can't really get their way on the feet, like, say, Leon Edwards. DDP can actually bring the fight. And as the fight goes on, he will bring the fight, but if it doesn't, that's Chimaev's fight. So it's kind of who's going to fight, who's fighting this fight. That's just the way it is. So my pick is going to be Chimaev by an early finish, round 1 or 2. Submission, maybe, but also, like I said, TKO. I see that as open. But DDP, now, I'd probably put money on him by KO if you're gonna pick this fight to go into the later rounds. High kick, I feel like that could really work. He was landing that a lot against Sean Strickland and against Israel Adesanya. Overhands are gonna work. Calf kicks, he should go to them. Body kicks, I mean, it's a little scarier when fighting a wrestler, but it's not like you shouldn't throw any body kicks against a wrestler. I mean, that's just silly. That just shows deficiency in kicking, but I'm going with Chimaev by early finish in this fight. I don't like picking against DDP because, I mean, he's undefeated himself in the octagon. He's 9-0 in the UFC. Chimaev's 8-0, but DDP has 2 losses, but they're so long ago he's basically forgotten to lose. And Chimaev he's never lost, so loser of this fight is going to be like the first loss, honestly. So in summary, Chimaev by early finish. I say for submission, probably a Darce choke. Also, like I said, TKO early rounds, but DDP will win the fight if it gets into the later rounds. And that's going to be it for predictions. Much appreciate you for watching. Also didn't recap the Dolidze and Hernandez card because there wasn't too much to talk about. I mean, I picked Dolidze like a maniac, and Hernandez kind of schooled him. I mean, I don't know what it is with Hernandez. Like, Dolidze just completely lost air after round 1 after throwing 10 strikes, I think it was, and some grappling. I don't know what Hernandez does to make opponents this tired, but hey, if he makes his future opponents get that tired, then maybe he will become a champion. That's going to be it for the video, so thanks for watching again, and goodbye.